Welcome, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Crow Wing County Regular Board meeting for December 16th, 2025 to order. If you'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amber, if you'd call roll call, please.
Commissioner Coring.
Here.
Commissioner Lubke.
Here.
Commissioner Barrows.
Here.
Commissioner Franzine.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Move on to number 2, which is open forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on something other than what's on our printed agenda? Anyone who would like to speak on anything other than what's on our printed agenda? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to number 3, review and approve the minutes from November 25th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine. Second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye, and that motion passes. Number 4, review and approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I do have one change. Under my time, under the county administrator's time, on 11.3, to schedule the public hearing to change the name of a body of water, we'd like to remove that from the agenda, please.
So done. Any other changes?
That's all.
Motion to approve with
Motion
changes.
by Commissioner Franzine to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Lee. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye, and that motion passes. Number 5 on our agenda is consent agenda. Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Lee.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye, that motion passes. We'll move on to number 7.
Mr. Chair, move to number 7. Yes, we have a few minutes before the public hearing for the fee schedule, so.
So who's here to present?
Taylor?
Taylor? Take your time, Taylor. We can't do anything else till 5:10, so.
Pressure's on.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Taylor Lesmeister. I am a health educator representing the Public Health Department today. I come to you because there was a public health nuisance identified on the 1600 block of Arns Hill and Brainerd. That is Franzin's District 4. This property was found to contain significant accumulation of refuse, including organic and putrescible waste. The volume of the debris was significant and is likely to impede safe egress from the main entrance of the residence, and the contents of the refuse was such that it may represent a potential disease hazard and is likely to attract vermin to the residence. On November 18th, 2025, Public Health, myself, and Land Services Department conducted a site visit and observed this accumulation ourselves. On the same day, contact was made with the property owner and education was provided regarding local ordinances and the present hazard. The property owner does not contract garbage services or have a reasonable means to haul his own waste, and so due to the potential threat to public health, we're requesting use of solid waste funds to abate the nuisance.
Questions? Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine,
Second.
second by Commissioner Coring.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye, that motion passes. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Could I have a question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So once this gets cleaned up, and what's going to keep it from going back to what it is?
That's a good
If there is
question.
no garbage services, or if there's nothing else?
Yep, so we have had past enforcements on this property before.
Okay.
We are trying to do something different this time around. We're working with Veteran Services.
Okay.
And we are trying to establish an ongoing garbage service so that he has a means of reasonably disposing of his waste going forward.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course.
We are still not at 5:10, so I will move on to 8.1, landfill fees informational presentation. And I assume, Gary, this is just information for us at this point?
Yes, sir.
I'm just here to run the clicker.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. We're here tonight to just give you some of the reasoning behind the proposed increases in our landfill fee schedule and a look at our 10-year plan that we have to prepare for our landfill per our solid waste or requirements per statute. As I mentioned, we do have a 10-year plan that we look at occasionally throughout the year if we have a big project coming up, but at least once per year, we go through and look at what our estimated fund balances are, and then we use those to determine the fee increases for the next year. We do that as new projects are coming up, and as we receive more data on waste received, a project might get moved forward a year or pushed out a year or two, depending upon the waste volumes that are coming in. So basically, we're always kind of chasing that moving target, which is why we have that 10-year plan, so we can build that fund balance to do those construction projects 7 years out, so that we don't have to go out and get a loan or look for funding for those projects. Our goal is a minimum of a $2 million fund balance, which is about 6 months' worth of operating expenses. So when we're looking at these next charts that I'll go through here, that's what we're looking at, is that cash balance, the blue line, to keep that at or above that $2 million mark. And then our other goal is to keep that green line, the revenue. We want to keep that as a steady increase. We don't want to see a large jump just because we have a planned project in the next year or two. We don't want to do large fee increases in 1 year. We want to do those steady, gradual fee increases. So going through the charts you see here, so to explain this, in 2023, this is what we were estimating our fund balance at. If you look at that blue line, that's the one we pay the most attention to. Where is our cash fund balance? And then you see those peaks in the red. Those are our expenses. So that is a cell build, cell closure, things like that. And then you see in 2024, we look at it again, and we're looking at that cash balance. As you can see, it dips down quite low there.
Jessica, I want to interrupt just for a second, because we have the public here, and I want them to understand what it costs to build a cell. So you think of the big hole in the ground. So maybe you can just let them know what it is, because you look at $8 million, $9 million there. Let's let them know what it costs to build one of those cells that we're required to do.
Correct. Right now, we have a cell build in our projection here out in approximately year 2033. It's right at about $9 million right now is what we're
Correct.
estimating.
So it's more of a break even over the course of time.
Correct.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. So yeah, just to that point, on the right-hand side, you can see in 2023 what we estimated our fund balances to be. And then again in 2024, I call out the differences there. So you see in 2028, there's a huge drop from 8 million to 3.9 million. And that is due to our leachate treatment that we're going to have to get installed in 2028 or by 2028. So we're estimating that to be about $5 million.
So
you can see that
leachate
fund
is what?
balance. Leachate is the dirty water in its high-level description of it is the dirty water coming off of our landfill that we get into the ponds that we treat, and then we land apply it out there.
Correct, okay. Thank you.
All right.
I'll have 25. Oh, does this do it? That's the pointer. Oh, is this one advanced? By the end of the night, I'll have it down.
All right, and then this chart is what we were looking at this year as we were looking at those fee increases, our fund balances, And what do we need to do to keep that fund balance high enough? And as you can see, that peak there in 2028 is that leachate treatment we're going to need to do. And then in 2033, that red line there for our expenses, that's cell 7. So as you can see, we're trying to keep that revenue line at a constant, not any large increases. We are doing a little bit of a bump here in 2026 just for projects that are coming up, just to get that fund balance up a little higher, because as you can see, in 2028 and 2033, we're dipping right in near that $2 million mark. So we want to be planful for that. So as you'll see in a little bit, our proposed fee increases for 2026. We're proposing an increase of $1.50 to our demo waste. This is per cubic yard. 43 cents per cubic yard for our industrial loose. 43 cents per cubic yard for our, like the regular garbage that you or I would bring in. 21 cents per bag of garbage. $2.20 per ton of industrial compacted waste. And $2.20 of MSW compacted waste. So that's your garbage in your garbage trucks.
One important thing to note is, while it's a steady increase, the green is the revenue, and you have your expenses and your cash balance. Down here, what we are looking at, it would be great if we could get the green line to go the other way and start, and if we could actually reduce, what we have to charge. But we do see out here in 2033, 34, 35, that currently, long time before then, but it could flatline where we might not have to increase. We could actually hold costs unless something unforeseen comes up with our permitting. But that's what we're trying to do, is basically think of the landfill as a huge break even for all we're trying to do is provide the service, not make a bunch of money. And, it's just trying to, where can we put the garbage for the residents of Crow Wing County and do it as cheap as possible, but do it responsibly. It doesn't show up very good, but if you want to
This
explain
map
it.
is kind of hard to see, so I'll call out some of the landfills or disposal sites that are a little closer to us, just to compare our fees to theirs. So looking at the demolition waste, so your construction and demolition debris, we are proposing to increase that from $7.50 to $9 per cubic yard for 2026. Hango Construction in Cass County is $10 a cubic yard. Grinning Bear, which is also in Cass, $17.60 per cubic yard. Cross Lake Demo is $25 per cubic yard. Morrison County landfill is $8.60 per cubic yard. And then Keewatin is just outside of this 50-mile radius we have in the blue circle here, but they're at $12.69 a cubic yard. And then if you look at our bags of garbage, we are proposing an increase to $5.25. Cass County is currently $2 to $6 a bag, depending upon size. And then Garrison Disposal in Aiken is $6 to $12 a bag, depending upon size. And then our MSW compacted waste, which is mainly the garbage trucks coming into the landfill, we're proposing an increase to $71.64. And for comparison, currently Morrison County is at $101.79 a ton, and Cass County is at $97.25 a ton. So we're still quite a bit under both of those.
Mr. Chair, in the case of Cass, they do not have a operating landfill, correct?
Correct, it's a transfer station.
It's just a transfer station, so they're shipping theirs out of the county.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions on, I don't want to say they're competitors, but people have a choice. They don't have to come to the Crow Wing County landfill. They can go to these other sites. Vast majority of them are more expensive, and you're going to have to drive there in almost every case.
Right. That's what I heard. I think it's tempting to come to Crow Wing, to be honest, listening to some of those cost items.
Mr. Chair, on the Keewatin one up there, there has been some people that have taken stuff out and hauled it up there doing demo around here. If it is, and according to the price, it's actually more expensive up there than down here, correct?
It is on their ticket price. It is a private landfill, so if you're an operator, you can go and negotiate a different
Negotiate a
price
deal.
with them,
Okay, that's-
potentially.
Yeah, because I know there's stuff that would have gone to ours, but it'll go up there because they had negotiated a deal then.
Sure.
That we're not doing. We're
I
not.
mean, that's what we assume. We don't know for sure, but
We don't do any negotiations at all in ours?
once you guys set the fees, that's what is charged at the landfill.
You know,
There is no
and-
negotiation.
And I also sit on the solid waste work group for Minnesota through AMC. And right now, the demolition landfills, and you maybe want to allude to that, right now, we don't have a line demolition landfill.
That's correct.
And it looks like, how do you say, the tea leaves or whatever, it looks like that will be coming down somewhere down the road.
Yeah, we figured maybe this year, but probably most likely next year, the rules from the MPCA will be updated and we will be probably given a 5 to 7 year closure time to close our current demo and then decide either put it on a liner or don't accept it. That's going to probably be the choice.
Is that, okay, because if that happens, there is no other line demo landfills that I know of in the area.
Not in the area that I'm aware of. There's a lot of demo landfills, but all in line.
None of them line that I know of at this
I
time.
can't, the closest one I can think is Dincom, which is like Shakopee, unless I'm missing one. There might be
Right,
one,
yeah.
but very few.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just a couple other slides, just for informational here. I thought it would be interesting, not a lot of folks know, 1976 was when the first truck started dumping at the current site of the landfill. Here you can see cells 1 through 4. Cell 1 was started in 1991. So if you think all that time, and here we're on cell 5 today, is if you threw something in your garbage, it got picked up sometime this week, ended up in the landfill, it would have been in cell 5 this week. So since 91 to today, that's roughly about 38 acres, 37, 38 acres. Every day all this garbage comes, it's just amazing how little land we've actually consumed. That's, I call it Mount Crow Wing proper. So cell 6 is right below cell 5, which is going to be an expense of, I think, $2.5–3 million to finish it. We've already dug the hole. Now we need to line it, so that means clay, 3 feet of clay, and then there's a 3-inch basically rubber membrane that needs to be laid in there, and then some piping to catch all the leachate or the stormwater that hits the garbage. It seeps through. We collect it, we have to treat it, and then we have a spray field for that. And then over here will be, we're trying to get a permit for cell 7. That should take us through, it's like 2034, somewhere in there, before we'd need to start into cell 8. This is just another little snapshot of cell 6. That should be, I think we've targeted to open this next, it's either late 26 or early 27. I think that's a little bit depending on what the volume of garbage comes in. But that's what it looks like here today, where we'll need to put the liner. You can see cell 5 is here, cell 6, cell 7 will be over here in the distance. And then just back to that leachate, for educational, it's a lot of money to treat this water, but we have these ponds on site. We actually have our own wastewater treatment system and our landfill operator treats our water, but basically filters it and applies different chemicals in different ponds, gets it to the specifications required by the MPCA, and then we spray it. But we typically treat around 6 to 7 million gallons of water, or we call it leachate in the landfill business. Once it hits the landfill, it is legally a leachate byproduct of the landfill. And that's what we wanted to do, is just bring folks up to speed on what's happening at the landfill when you're considering those fees here in just a little bit. Any questions for us?
Any questions?
Yes, I have another one. When I sit at these meetings, they talk a lot about PFAS. And right now, I don't know of any, right now they talk about burning it, getting it to a certain temperature, and it goes away. Is there any other way of dealing with leachate today that we're doing? Because right now, we have no way of treating leachate ourselves at the landfill right now, correct?
We are running 2 different tests currently. One is a evaporator. So we're taking the leachate and we're trying to boil off contaminants and then still probably need to run it through some media to strip out the PFAS, but we're still testing on that, waiting on some results. The other one is this Miselex product, and basically that we treat, take a pond, we treat it, so we settle all the heavy metals. Then you run it through all this media that should shine the water, basically pull out the PFAS. So we're working on a solution, but there's a vibrating filter called VSEP out there that I believe Duluth and St. Louis County has invested in greatly at their landfill, trying to do the same thing we're trying to do here, is get that out of the water, so when you spray the water, it's doesn't have that PFAS in it.
And one of the things that I've learned is some of these landfills that are out in the rest of Minnesota, they will take their leachate and bring it to the
Wastewater treatment.
The
Yep, the
wastewater
truck.
treatment plant, and some of those wastewater treatment plants are saying, maybe we don't want this anymore because it's got so much PFAS in it.
They have the same
And
problem, yep.
It's a challenge that
It is
we're
a
all
challenge.
facing in the whole state, so I'm glad we're working towards that area, that we're aware of it, and we're working towards it, so thank
Yeah,
you.
at 6-7 million gallons, our pricing is right around 10 cents a gallon if we truck this to a wastewater treatment. And currently, the only one that probably could take it right now would be the Pig's Eye plant in the cities.
Right.
So it'd be expensive trucking too, so.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move back to number 6 on our schedule, or our agenda, and it's a public hearing to adopt the 2026 Crow Wing County fee schedules. So Gary, are you going to, Nancy, you're leading this one?
Yes, I am.
I was just hanging out because I was coming back on the next thing anyways.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So I'm here tonight to propose to you the changes to our 2025 fee schedule moving into 2026 pursuant to Minnesota statute. The county can charge fees for services after a public hearing establishing the amount of fees. On an annual basis, our county departments analyze our current fee schedule and propose any changes, additions, deletions for you to consider, which they have done. And those changes were reviewed very thoroughly at our November 13th Budget Committee meeting, where we went through it page by page. Included in your packet are several pages of proposed revisions to the fee schedule. I can certainly go through those page by page if you prefer. At a very high level, can you hand me the clicker?
Is that the wish of the commissioners? Do you want to go through it page by page?
Not necessary for me. The only question I have is, do we have a fee schedule in there yet for cannabis?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, as far as what?
Well, look, I see is there a fee like for liquor license, stuff like that? Is that on this fee schedule? Is there one?
The cannabis fee is a registration fee that is part of the land services fee schedule. It should be included
It's
in
in the
there.
land use.
The land use fee schedule. They don't actually get their license, if you recall. They
It's
don't
a-
get their license from us, so that's why you see liquor and tobacco licenses listed under the finance department's general fees, but the cannabis registration fee is under the land use
It's
one.
under, okay.
Basically an interim use permit, and you'd go through the public hearing like a lot of other uses.
Okay.
I do want to make note on page 12, which I have noted here up on the screen. We did add some verbiage to that regarding the service fees for paying with credits, cards and debit cards. So you'll see at the top in blue that effective January 1st of 2026, we will be imposing a 3.2% service fee to customers who pay with a credit card or debit card in the solid waste area. So that is something new that I wanted to point out. Also, on that same page, about halfway down on the page, the asbestos section, those amounts changed slightly from our budget committee meeting, so I wanted to point those out to you as well. So you have the $6 charge and the $14.50 charge that changed from when the budget committee met in November.
That was going to be my only question, was if anything has changed on this since our budget meeting when we looked at these the first time.
Those are the only changes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Nancy. I would look for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine,
Second it.
second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. The public hearing is now open at 5:25. Is there anyone here who would like to speak regarding our fee schedule for 2026? Anyone that would like to speak to the fee schedule for 2026? Last chance, folks. Look for a motion to close the public hearing at 5:25.30. Commissioner Franzine makes the motion.
I will second that motion.
Commissioner Lubke seconds the motion. Roll call?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
And then you need a motion to adopt the fee schedules.
Look for a motion.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to adopt,
Second.
Second.
second by Commissioner Franzine. Roll call?
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. All right, we'll move to 8.2. Welcome back, Jessica. Now, is this one just information also?
This one is not.
We'll need a motion on this.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good evening. I have before you our 2026 Aquatic Invasive Species Prevention Plan. Each year, the state of Minnesota allocates approximately $10 million across the counties in Minnesota, and we receive approximately $450,000 each year since 2014. In 2026, that allocated amount is set to be $471,391. To receive these funds, we are required to update our prevention plan every year. We did put this plan out for public comment for 30 days from November 10th through December 10th, and we received 2 comments, which are in your packet. We also did a presentation of this plan, of our proposed plan, to the public on November 7th, and we also received questions and comments at that meeting and took them and updated our plan as needed. The changes we are proposing this year is pay increases of approximately 50 cents per hour for all of our inspectors, new to returning staff. Staffing of our landings, we are proposing to change that to start Memorial Weekend instead of fishing opener weekend. Part of this is due to just the funding restrictions that we have. We don't have as much money to spend to allocate across all those weekends, so cutting those couple weekends saves us a few $1,000s to fit within the money that we were allocated. And looking at our data as well, we aren't as busy those weekends. We are the busiest Saturdays and Sundays, Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend. And so I'll open it up for any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Lee?
do we know what system the state uses for how these dollars get allocated?
They allocate it out by how many accesses and then how many parking spaces at those accesses that have a a trailer and truck parking spot.
Okay. So, and I know our funds what we received this year went down.
It went down a couple $100, yes.
Is that because the total budget went down, or are there other boat landings going up around the state, or any idea?
It could be another county had more parking spots, so it varies just a little bit every year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago, Commissioner, we recounted all of our spots, parking spots, and we had a different count in the DNR, and our funding actually went up a few $1,000 because we were more accurate after what they said we had.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Gary, are we counting the parking on the streets? The roads approaching? Just thinking a way to increase the revenue.
That's a good idea, but I don't think we should do that.
All right. Any other questions?
It just maybe more of a comment or question. I mean, this year, we have the full funding that was put in there, the $10 million, which is split, like you said, $5 million for landings, $5 million for the parking spaces at those landings. Next year, they're looking at cutting that funding, or next year, what is it, 27?
27.
27, they're looking at cutting that funding in half.
It is
It
getting
is
cut in half.
getting cut. It's already been.
That's
approved.
already approved and stuff to cut in half. Do we know what we're going to do as far as what we're trying to do? Because I think it is, you know, as some of us serve in some very lake-centric districts, it is a critical thing to help protect our waters.
We definitely have some early ideas what we're going to propose. And we'll go through our standard process of, here's what we're thinking. We'll hold, you know, our year-end and kickoff meetings with all of our stakeholders. We'll come, next year, we'll come to a committee of the whole to discuss it with you guys. Probably go through a couple of, we'll do the 30-day public comment period for soliciting, you know, anybody else's ideas. But the plan is going to look drastically different in 27 than it does in 26.
At the AMC meeting, I had a chance to meet with Commissioner, what's her name? Stroman and Deputy Commissioner Meyer, and they were talking about the fact that, you know, they're changing the licensing fees and stuff like that on the watercraft and stuff, and they're supposedly going to have some funding to put into something, but I don't know if anything that's come out yet. They talked about having something out on December 15th, but I haven't seen anything yet where you would maybe be able to apply. So keep your eyes open for that, and if there's anything there, I think
Will
it's,
do.
especially, you know, when we looked at that, and you've given me those numbers, and I appreciate that, you know, there's probably about 15 counties in Minnesota that you would consider very lake-centric. But when they do this apportionment or prior, how do you call it, apportionment of that $10 million, it just goes in the top and comes out the bottom. So if you have a county that doesn't have any lakes, they don't get any. But no matter what it is, they will get some. And so it doesn't take anything in consideration to how much the landings are used. It's just, do you have a landing? And that's something I've brought up to them before. You know, there's certain places where a landing might only get used once or twice a month, you know, where certain landings, you go up to Lower Hay, you go up to some of the gull landings and some of that other stuff, they are being used. I mean, like you said, there's no place to park. So that's something I'm going to be talking to them about, but I'd like to see what comes down from the DNR in regards to that. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the 2026 Aquatic Invasive Species Prevention Plan.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine,
Second?
second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Hi.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lupke.
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you very much. 8.3, move on to the establishment of Mission Lakes Lake Improvement District. Jessica, you're taking this one?
I am.
Okay.
All right, we have before you the establishment of Mission Lakes Improvement District. As per statute, we must hold a public hearing within 30 days of receiving the petition, and we did do this on November 25th, 2025. And we did do all the required notifications. I did want to make one correction in the board item. It's supposed to be Mission and Center Townships instead of Lake Edward, so I wanted to correct that for you. And as per statutes, within 30 days of that public hearing, the county board shall establish or deny the petition lid. If this lid is approved, the assessment will be collected in time to start funding the lid in July of 2027. So even if it is approved tonight, they will not start levying their residents until 2027. It will not go into effect next year. On August 9th, 2022, the representatives of the Mission Lakes Association asked the county about the possibility of establishing a lake improvement district as a means of supporting past efforts by the association to manage curly leaf pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil. They did receive letters of support signed by 54% of the property owners. The requested budget for this district is $55,000 per year, which is based on an assessment of $250 per eligible property owner, with about 220 property owners currently on the lake. And we did hold that public hearing on November 25th, and you heard the feedback at that meeting. We received a DNR advisory report. They did acknowledge the presence of curly leaf pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil in the lake, and they approved the boundaries of the proposed lid. They did recommend several actions to improve water quality addressed in the initial mission lid management plan, including working collaboratively with other agencies to develop a plan to reduce and monitor phosphorus loading and adopting projects identified in the MPCA's TMDL study. One of the reasonings behind the creation of the lid is the funds from the DNR and voluntary contributions of individuals have not been enough to adequately control the aquatic plant nuisance and reduce nutrient loading. The primary program to be undertaken by this district would be the long-term aquatic plant management.
Questions? Just make a note that we did get all the letters of support and opposition. That's part of our packet. At this point, our legal responsibility is to make a decision, yes or no. And so I would look for a motion one way or the other.
Just before or after, it doesn't matter to me. I just do have a couple things that I wanted to touch on.
Okay?
Let me do that before or after the motion.
You can
Okay.
speak now if you'd like.
All right. Looking through this is obviously my first lid that we've gone through, so I've spent a fair amount of time going through this, and it seems to me that we have 4 requirements that have to be met in order for this lid to be approved. The first one is that there's a verified majority that want this lid to happen, and 54% meets that requirement. That box is checked. We have to determine that the association is no longer able to complete this without it becoming a lid, and I believe that box has been checked. One of the questions I had was about what the plan was that was in place. They do have a plan in place. I've never compared it against any other lid, what their plans are. Does this plan essentially match up with what you've seen in other lids? And
Very similar, yeah.
okay. And then I guess the last thing is this actually going to be an improvement for the lake? And I think that's what our biggest decision would be is this something that's going to help the lake or hurt the lake? It would be my biggest concern going into it. I know one of the gentlemen that was opposed to this had brought in some information from what I would guess is a member of the DNR that was opposed to it. But since then, we've gotten a fair amount of information, correct, that contradicts that. The DNR believes this to be the right answer. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I was on the right page, so thank you.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to approve,
I will second that motion.
second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
I abstain. My son owns property in this area.
Commissioner Coring,
No.
Commissioner Barrows.
Yes, that motion passes. Thank you very much. Chris? Give us some background on 8.4, the Trailside Preserve preliminary plat.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. We have 3 items for your consideration this evening. The first request is for the preliminary plat of Trailside Preserve for parcel number 9927-0692, located in section 27 of the First Assessment District. The request is to approve a conventional design preliminary plat consisting of 21 lots. The total size of the parcel for subdividing is approximately 23 acres. This is the location of the property here that's in question.
Could you use, Chris, could you use the other?
Oh, sure thing. Yep, thank you. So you have Wise Road here. Over here you would have Kiner Road 3. This is Gilbert Lake Road here. It then comes down to Sandburg and comes down this direction. And then you've got Gibbert Lake Road continues down here. This is the parcel in question that's being subdivided. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment did hold a public hearing on November 20th and made a recommendation to the board to approve the preliminary plat of Trailside Preserve. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment did develop a finding of fact that is found on pages 705 and 706 for the board's consideration as well. We want to clarify the zoning on the parcel. The current zoning is RR1, which allows for 1 acre lots with a minimum of 150 feet wide. As you remember, the board approved the new comprehensive plan on August 27th of 2024. A significant policy change was approved that changed the zoning and first assessment in the non-shoreline areas to rural residential 1 unless the property was either zoned commercial or industrial. This was in response to the feedback received about the need for more affordable housing options in Crow Wing County. The overall policy was to reduce lot size requirements overall in the county. Under the land use section, goal number 1 states that to plan a balanced approach to meeting housing needs by increasing densities. And by increasing densities, it means to lower the lot size requirements. And then policy number 2 said to plan for a rural residential 1 surrounding urban area to enable future annexations and not make infrastructure's extensions cost prohibitive. In the first quarter of 2025, it was discovered that we had received the wrong map from our consultant during the comprehensive plan process, and that there were properties along Wise Road that were zoned as commercial improperly. Once we discovered that, we made a list of the parcels. Then the county held a public hearing on May 19th, 2025 to consider the rural residential 1 zoning on this parcel and on the other parcels. We were not required to mail notice to properties in this situation. The recommendation from the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment was to approve the rural residential 1 zoning, and the county board approved that change on May 27th, 2025. Based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact as presented, it is recommended to approve the preliminary plat of Trailside Preserve. Staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Just for clarification, there was a public hearing held before the preliminary plat at the
Correct.
PCBOA?
Yep, exactly, yes. The public hearing was held November 20th, 2025. The meeting started at 3 p.m. and was here in the county boardroom.
Okay, and I have a question for County Attorney Stephanie. We did receive a petition as commissioners. Tell me about the legality of that, whether it's a valid document.
People can present a petition. Oh, thank you, Commissioner Lee. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, anyone can present a petition to the board with information, but that does not prevent the county board from making a decision with respect to a preliminary plat this evening.
Okay, so it's basically a piece of information
That's correct.
for us to look at.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no legal binding.
Correct. That doesn't prevent you from doing anything. It's merely a piece of paper that presents you with information.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Chris? regarding the- Go ahead.
Couple
Commissioner.
questions for Chris before you get, are you referring to the email that we got earlier today? Or like right before the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, when I looked at that, I don't see how, yeah, disregard. It didn't look like it was necessarily accurate, maybe is the best way to put it, so. I had questions for about, I have questions for you about that later, so. This plat that you put up, just if you would, we talked about this beforehand. You presented us with a
Correct.
a
Yeah, I'd like to
correction.
point out, thank you, Commissioner Lee. There was the plat that was put in the packet wasn't the most current plat. Some of the feedback that we received from the Highway Department was 3 approaches off the cul-de-sac, and they didn't want to see any driveway approaches come off of Gibbert Lake Road here. And so you'll see that this has been changed to show the access point comes off here for Lot 13, and then you'll see on the cul-de-sac, there are now these 3 proposed access points off the cul-de-sac, so it meets Highway Department policy.
So this one that we received is accurate?
Yeah, the one at your desks is the most current version of the plat, and we had that actually at the meeting in November.
Had it at the preliminary meeting for the
Correct.
PCBO?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other concerns or questions?
Yes, I have some questions for the county engineer. And this is, I've had a lot of calls, and most of the people are concerned about the traffic on the road. And I had a call from Dave Norman, who said that his family donated the Gilbert Lake access, and he lives on there, plus out of town. And he said it's a dead end, which we all know, and he just wants to make sure that we're aware of how much traffic this is going to increase, and I'd like you to just make sure that all his questions are answered.
Sure, I think I've heard about this question and how development like this might affect dead-end roads. And we did look around other developments and could not find one that had as many lots as are proposed, not including this and other ones around. But I think any increase in traffic and any impact on the adjacent roadways, we would handle we would deal with the problem once it develops. And the addition of 22 homes doesn't necessarily preclude this from being done. And if something, a challenge happens at the intersection of Gilbert Lake Road and Smith Road in the future, we would address it. Currently, with our last plan, we installed 2 left turn lanes, and left turn lane to both Smith Road and this road. And we feel confident that it will continue to handle this. If it doesn't, we will address it just like any other roadway that continues to fail under the traffic pressures that emerge. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? If there's no other questions, I would look for a motion to approve the preliminary plat. And you are who? All right, you can come up and speak. I have a 3-minute time limit.
So Jeremy Prame, 10290 Gilbert Trail. So I'm here to address the specific failures with this proposal and the alarming process used to push it through. It isn't just about 21 homes. It's about a developer privatizing profit and socializing the long-term risks and expense on our taxpayers, as evidenced by the conversation that just happened, that, yeah, it's going to be more traffic, we'll fix it, and just burn all the other taxpayers with the problem. Accountability is the first thing I want to talk about, or lack thereof. It's no secret developers prefer to pursue projects in unorganized territory to bypass the building inspections and codes in Brainerd-Baxter. When a developer publicly admits they want to build as cheap as possible and then intentionally seeks out the path of least oversight, you guys should be really concerned, right? We're essentially inviting substandard construction that will become a blight and a fiscal drain on Crow Wing County in the years to come. So first question would be, if you approve this and allow the developer to bypass the building inspections and standards in an area that's used to high-density development in favor of no inspections in the first assessment, what specific measures will Crow Wing County take to ensure these cheap builds meet state building codes and do not become devalued high-maintenance burden on our local tax base? Second, safety. Gilbert Lake Road already serves 60 homes and buildable lots, right? I think there's 54 homes or 53, depending on what you count as a home on there, and some vacant lots. That's adding 21 more. It's 33% higher than any other dead-end road in the county. Crow Wing County does not allow dead-end roads in new developments for a reason. It's public safety and emergency access, right? By approving this, you're setting a new low point for county standards, ignoring the fact that Wise Road is already a major bypass shortcut, and we're creating a traffic bottleneck that will just burden future taxpayers or the other taxpayers with for the benefit of a developer. Second question then would be, Crow Wing County standards generally prohibit new dead-end developments due to emergency access risks. By approving the project that places 81 homes on a single access point, 33% more than any other in the county, Is the board prepared to assume the long-term liability and safety of these residents? And why is this developer being granted an exception to the safety standards applied to others? And how do you expect to pay for those future road improvements that this is going to require? Third point I want to make, drainage concerns raised in the public hearing. There was a room full of people here, no comment or note of any of the objections that got passed on to you. There's real drainage concerns with the properties to the south that's not been addressed. It looks like there's a couple of drainage ponds if you put up the plat that's on here, back along the trail that the state owns, Paul Bunyan Trail, and along maybe Sandberg Road. The properties at the southeast are potentially at risk of flooding and drainage here, or of runoff, as well as those drainage ponds appear to be on private lots that they're going to sell.
Okay, Mr. Prom, your 3 minutes are up.
Give me one, can I have one more minute and I'll finish up here?
Be fast.
All right, so by approving the project, regarding the stormwater, what are you going to do to ensure that they're not filled? How are you going to oversee it and ensure there's no damage or degradation to others? And then finally, we submitted, I can answer questions on the petition. I don't know what's inaccurate about it. It's everybody in the neighborhood that says this is a bad idea and you need to address the traffic concerns and burden the developer with those expenses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you address the questions?
I'll see if is there anything to add, Chris, that
Sure, I'd be happy to. The first thing brought up was, I think some questions might be better in Tim might be answer, some more of the road questions in that, but I can talk about state building codes. So Crow Wing County has not adopted the building code, so we don't enforce the building code anywhere in the county, regardless if it's in First Assessment or in Noke Lake Township. And there really isn't a county the size of Crow Wing across the state that actually has adopted building codes. We are, though, required, we can only issue a permit for construction of a new dwelling to either a builder that is licensed by the state of Minnesota through the Department of Labor and Industry, or the state law also allows us to issue a permit to the property owner. People are allowed to build one house every 2 years without having to get a license from the state. And so that's only two ways that we can issue a permit for that. And so licensed builders are required to build to the state code because that's how they got their license and that's the expectation. Drainage concerns in the property. Part of the requirement of doing this, obviously, there's going to be a new road built for Trailside Court, and this is going to disturb more than 1 acre, so that would require a state of Minnesota Pollution Control Agency stormwater pollution prevention plan, or sometimes called a SWIP, and that requires the treatment on that for all the hard surface of a 1/2 inch. Our ordinance is more restricted than that, so we would require a 1 inch rain event to be permanently treated on the site for that sort of thing, and that comes right from the Minnesota Stormwater Manual, that 1 inch. That's why we use that number. I think I answered the questions on this side. I think maybe the other questions might be more traffic related.
Tim, do you have anything to add?
While he's coming up, I'll just ask one question that gentleman was just asking. I don't remember who it was, but there was a hydrologist or someone that was talking about the level of those lots that he's referring to that might not be buildable in our packet. Do you remember who? I remember they had looked at it and said that everything appeared to be buildable.
So as a reminder, when new lots are proposed in the state of Minnesota, not just Crow Wing County, but statewide, you're required to show that there are 2 septic sites on each property, an alternate and a primary, and there are for this, they have that for this lot. We're also required to identify all wetlands on the property, so we're not impacting wetlands as part of the development. And so those issues, I think, are covered. I don't see any of those issues being a problem for being able to build on the lots.
Okay. Sorry, Tim.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I believe Mr. Pram had a question about building dead-end roads. And to my knowledge, there is no prohibition on building cul-de-sacs in the first assessment district. If you recall, many of the latest developments, including those done by this same developer, all involve roads that either cul-de-sac at the end, and essentially all are dead ends. I mean, the most I can think of.
No, you had your 3 minutes, actually 4 minutes, so we're
So
answering your concerns.
I don't believe that that's accurate. I'm not aware of a prohibition on building cul-de-sacs and dead ends like this. Chris, maybe you can, but I don't believe there is.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, there's nothing in the land use ordinance, any prohibition. We would just be relying on county highway standards because as a reminder, any new plats with roadways being developed need to be developed to the standards that the highway department sets. And so we rely on highway to help us. We work together with them to make sure the road standards are in place. And because at the end, if this plat goes through and gets approved, the road will be required to be maintained by the highway department.
So quick question though, when they build that cul-de-sac there, it has to be so that it will facilitate emergency vehicles, is that correct?
Yes,
So
we have
your fire
standards for
department,
those.
School buses?
All of that. They
Any
need
of
to be
those?
the correct size,
The
the
equipment
roadway
that can-
width, 66 feet, and then the correct width for a cul-de-sac. And we have, the developer's consultant has done a really good job of putting together the preliminary engineering. We really appreciate that, seeing that now, that we had some questions associated with that, or preliminary review of that they are on track with meeting all the standards that are required by the new First Assessment District road ordinance that was passed a few years ago.
Okay, thank you. So I'll bring it back.
I've got
Go
just
ahead, Jamie.
one more thing I'll address to you. I don't think you've had a chance to see this email that we have, but to discuss his point on this petition. A petition, does that not have to be vetted to show that those are actual residents? Doesn't have to be to us in a certain time frame to show that those are actual residents?
So you're talking about several different things. Anybody can make a comment with respect to a preliminary plat or whatnot that's bringing forward. And so somebody that has brought forward a petition, and again, I haven't seen what it is that you're talking about, anyone can present yes or no, whether they're a resident of the county, whether they've lived within a mile. It doesn't matter where they live, anyone can present that information. When you're talking about specifics of where they live, one of the things would be like the Mission Lake Improvement District, you have to prove that they live on the lake. That's one of the things that you have to prove. With respect to this petition that you're talking about, you wouldn't necessarily have to prove that you live within a certain distance of this piece of property.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just a little further clarification there too, I think, Commissioner. There is no provision in statute for a petition with regard to a preliminary plat. When we talk about having to verify petitions and making sure that these are vetted, whatever it might be in that regard, those are under specific circumstances where statute allows the opportunity for a petition to direct the action of the county board. There is no provision in statute for that to be the case. As Assistant Attorney Shook stated, this petition is basically like saying public comment of we don't want this or we do want this, but it has no legal bearing from a statutory provision for that to pertain to what you're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. So I take that statement back about that. I think that's it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lubke.
Chris, this has already gone in front of the Planning Commission, correct?
Correct.
And it's already, and they had questions, I'm sure they asked the board and they asked whoever the developer is on this already?
Yeah, there was a public hearing held on November 20th.
Public hearing and stuff.
Yep.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know that.
Yep.
And those were all answered to the best of the ability, and they did approve it to send it forward to us, correct?
Correct,
And those are the people we all appoint here to serve in that capacity.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one last one. So, and this is the preliminary, so it will still go back to them one more time No?
No, the process for plating is that when somebody makes an application for a preliminary plat, it has a public hearing before the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, comes to the county board to approve or deny that preliminary plat, depending on the actions of the board. And then the applicant then has a 12-month window to come back to the county board for final plat. And basically, that is implementing all the requirements that were put in place for the preliminary plat: road design, stormwater management, all those sorts of conditions, monumentation. You have to get title commitments completed, all of those. So they have a 12-month window to come back to that. And then after if they come back and they have that and you approve the final plat, and then they have a 90-day window then to record that plat. So if this gets approved tonight, then the developer has basically a 12-month window to get everything put together. And really what that would mean is that it's really based on the road, so they can either build the road and get it approved by the highway department, or they can put a developer's agreement in place that's agreed upon by the county board, where we get an estimate of the cost of building the road, the stormwater, all that, and they have to give us a bond or a financial assurance amount of 125% of the actual cost. And then after the road is built and put in, that money then is returned to them, and at that point then the road would be for the money to go back, it'd have to be approved by highway, and then the county board would accept the road as a local road for maintenance to the highway department as the honorarious township, and then the money would be returned back to the applicant.
But Chris, there would be a public hearing for the final plat?
No.
Okay.
No, the preliminary plat is really the approval of the plat. The final plat is just making sure that all the additional performance standards are in place before the final plat's approved.
And Mr. Chair, we have had, Chris, at times, we have had where it's like a preliminary plat comes up, and almost right after that, then the final plat approval comes up. We've had that happen.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Lupke, that does happen in situations where a development is occurring on an existing road, and so they're not building a road, to service the lots. And so, and those are usually 2 or 3, lot plats. And so that's why there's not a final plat following this tonight, because we now have to work with them on getting road designs, engineer, stormwater, some of the issues that were brought up tonight. Those are some now issues that the applicant will work with highway to get all that put together for construction of the road.
Mr. Chair and Chris, they have 12 months from preliminary plat to final?
To come back to
right?
final, yep.
And if they miss that, they come back again, don't they?
If they do not come back for final plat in 12 months, that plat becomes null and void. They have to start all over again, make an application, submit the fees, public hearing before the planning commission, come back to you again. So most of them get that done within 12 months.
Most.
We've had a couple of situations where they missed it, but for the most part, it gets done.
Thank you.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve or not approve. I wasn't aware there was somebody else, but yes, you can have 3 minutes.
It won't take that long.
Okay?
One of the residents in the neighborhood, Dustin Lake, Gilbert Lake Road. Mr. Prame mentioned the southeast properties that the flooding would be worried about. Didn't see anything on the map about the drainage ponds that the builder talked about. There might have been a little bit of a highlight, but they're on the back side of the property. And my property is, the land slopes the other way. And in the spring, it already floods almost up to my garage. Like my driveway's literally
Which
underwater.
property is yours? We have a pointer here.
Oh, sorry. It's the one right by where the driveway was gonna be. This one? Yep, that one.
Okay.
Me and the next corner property there are underwater, like for 2 weeks every spring, the driveway and everything. So if the ponds are on the other side where the land slopes that way, it's not gonna help us. Plus, if they're on private property, they could just fill those in someday, if it's not on state property. And that could potentially make it worse for us, like up to the building even.
Certainly could impact your property.
Yeah. So that was a big concern, and then I think the emergency vehicle thing wasn't quite, the question wasn't quite answered. It's more of like getting out if somebody needs to get to the hospital, because that, like, you guys might not think it's a big deal, but it can take like 5 minutes some mornings just to get out there and take a left, like during the school hours and people getting off of work. So that's the main concern. Like, it really does get clogged up. The turning lanes do help, which we appreciate, but it's bad. And you feel like you have to hurry, and that can get dangerous. And then when the ice gets there, you start peeling out, and people are coming 60. I mean, we all live in Crow Wing County, so we deal with it on other roads, not just this one, but it'll definitely make it worse. And, yeah, we got a lot of young kids in the neighborhood that are gonna be driving soon, so that's a fear of parents.
We'll pray for you.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Main concern was the flooding, though.
Yep.
That I don't think was answered, I really don't. And
So,
like to hear
you're gonna
something
ask
that
Chris
makes-
to address that, to see if that was a concern at the planning and zoning?
It was discussed, but it wasn't something that the planning commission or board of adjustment brought up, that, they didn't feel it was a concern. But again, as I mentioned earlier, as we work through the process of doing this and the road development and that, there'll be, some stormwater development put in place to try to alleviate, that to the greatest extent that we can do on the property. So that'd be, again, working with highway to try to figure out where's the right locations for stormwater and how are we gonna manage that properly.
So is it part of the plat then that the developer has to look at the way the water flows?
Yeah, they were required to submit to us engineered and civil plans for all those issues. We have a stormwater management requirement in the ordinance and part of the road development and that, so.
And that's a permanent plan, though? It's not something just during
No,
construction?
it's a permanent, it requires permanent treatment, that 1 inch, as I mentioned.
Just
before,
like in
yeah.
my neighborhood, there'll be ditching and whatever to
Yep,
hold that water.
Yep, and that'd be something that we'll work with highway department on as far as what they find to be appropriate, as far as how that's gonna impact, the roadway, and then when it turns around towards Sandburg, so.
And so this will be part of the final plat, the
Oh,
stormwater plan?
yeah, exactly, and as Tim mentioned, the applicant has already been working towards that. They've already seen some preliminary engineered plans, so they already have that and beginning to work towards, the issues that we have, in the ordinance, so, or the requirement that would be in the ordinance as far as that.
So the concern I would have, though, for these two properties would be the houses that are built adjacent to it. And any holding ponds should be on their property, not on the current owners of those two lots. Am I correct?
We wouldn't be able to go onto the, private property and do any sort of, unless there was some agreement or something, but we wouldn't unilaterally have that authority to go do that.
So if the water does flow to those two properties, how do we ensure that the developer is responsible for making sure there's not at least more water because of his development going to those two properties?
I'm not an engineer, and that's why they have an engineer in place. But Jim Kramer with Kramer Lease DeLeo is here tonight. He is the authorized agent for the applicant. And if he wants to address, maybe the engineering side of things, he might be able to speak to that better than I could.
Could we have you come up here?
Yes, because this gentleman is talking about that, but I've had calls from people on Jean Street, and they have the same concern.
On where?
Jean,
Sure.
it's across the road.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, as mentioned, my name is Jim Kramer, KLD representing the applicant here. As Chris reiterated, when we go through these development plans, we look at impervious coverage on the parcels. So we look at where all the water goes, and we direct it to locations where we can control it and treat it no different than earlier discussions you had with the landfill. We look at the water that anywhere where it comes off our property where we're going to control it to meet the standards set up by the county and the state. So we are certainly not going to make any situation worse for a neighboring property. And this is no different than any other development or construction. You look at very many parcels in the county, where specifically lake parcels, where people develop on a particular lot and you don't want runoff going from that new construction onto a neighbor. The situation is very similar and handled in the same way for a development plat like this. And these are plans that We submit to the county highway department, so they're reviewing it. So this gets reviewed many times before anything gets finalized out.
Okay, so I just want to be sure that if there's concerns, that there's conversation between the current
Absolutely.
property owners and the developer.
And absolutely,
process.
and we will note this at this time and address it, and perhaps even follow up with the adjacent property owners so that they understand what is going to happen. Some of the questions came up with regard to the proposed drainage ponds being on private property. What happens in this situation is that we have drainage ponds set up in the development that sit on the new lots we create. But that in no way allows that lot owner, as an example, to fill that pond. As part of the final plat, we'll have easements, and the easements are actually created and given to the county. So actually, the county highway department has control over those areas where the drainage ponds sit. So it's not like these can be changed or modified going forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that's a standard practice for all plating.
Okay. Other questions, concerns? Nobody else wants to speak on this one? I would look for a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
Commissioner Lubke makes a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
No.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you very much, Chris. We'll move on to 8.5, Walker's Highland Final Plat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next request is for the final plat of Walker's Highland for parcel number 50180511, located in section 18 of Bay Lake Township. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment recommended approval of this plat back on June 18th of 2025, and then the board, you approved the preliminary plat on July 8th. All requirements have been met for the final plat application and recommend approval as submitted. I'd be happy to answer any questions. This is a plat that didn't require any roads or that, so the applicant just worked through getting their title commitment in place and those sorts of issues that they had to get to make the final plat. So this, you did take action on this preliminary plat back in June. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Concerns? There are none. I would look for a motion to approve the Walker's Highland Final Plat.
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Franzine. Roll call.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. We'll move on to number 8.6, Pelican Valley Final Plat.
Thank you. As mentioned, the final request is for the final plat of Pelican Valley for parcel 77060524. This is located in section 6 of Mission Township. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment recommended approval of this plat on October 16th of 2025. The board approved the preliminary plat on October 28th of 2025. All requirements have been met for the final plat application and recommend approval as submitted. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner
Second.
Lubke makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Franzine seconds that motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye. That motion passes. Few reports. Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Chris and Gary.
I have nothing to pass along. However, I do want to give kudos where I believe it's due. The Highway Department has done an excellent job keeping our roads clear, especially with some really difficult snow in the past couple of snow events, and it's been noted with our patrol deputies. So I just wanted to pass that along. I'm here for any questions, but I don't have anything else to add.
Any questions for Adam? Great job. Thank you. County Attorney.
Good evening. I do not have anything for the board. Ms. Hops regrettably cannot be here tonight, but I am available for any questions.
Questions? You're off the hook. Move on to County Administrator.
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of items for you this evening. The first is the court-appointed attorney contract. If you recall, we contract with attorneys to provide child protection cases for the children or the parents in certain cases, for CHIPS cases. And this is obligated by state law for us to provide legal counsel for these parents in this case. We had previously entered into a contract with Cody Schmidt to provide those services, and I did receive notice from Mr. Schmidt that he is no longer going to be able to do so effective January 1st of this year. We also have 2 other attorneys that we currently contract with. However, it is very helpful if we can have at least 3 attorneys under contract. I did reach out to Mr. Ross Truen, who has been an additional attorney who has helped in some of our instances with some of these cases. He is willing to take on this contract, so the item I have before you today is to approve the contract with Ross Truen for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st at a rate of $75,000 per year.
Questions? Look for a motion to approve.
I guess one question first. Is that something that we bid out at normal times? If there wasn't somebody that's...
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Lee, yes, we have done RFPs for this in the past. So we usually do every 2-3 years, we'll start a new RFP process again to go through that as needed.
Okay, then I'll make the motion to approve.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Franzine seconds that motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye. That motion passes. 11.2.
Mr. Chair, the next item I have before you is a appointment to the Northeast Minnesota Regional Advisory Committee. You may recall back in January, we had been approached with making sure that we had made the appointment to the committee. And at that time, we had appointed 911 Operations Lieutenant Turner as the appointee, and also to have our Emergency Management Coordinator, Liz Gleason, be the alternate, as well as Emergency Management Director, Clayton Barg, as the other alternate. This is something that we have to do every year to make those appointments to the committee, so I would request that you would make the same appointments again with nominating to have 911 Operations Lieutenant Turner as the designee, and Clayton Barg as our Emergency Management Director, and the Emergency Management Coordinator, Liz Gleason, as the alternates.
Does this take board action, or is
It
this...
does take board action for this one.
Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lee. Roll call.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just one other item. In front of your stations tonight, you did receive a copy of the committee appointments that are expiring either at the end of December or the end of January. There are a couple of additional changes that we need to make on some of these. I believe, Commissioner Franzine, your appointee to the PCBOA, you had reappointed Mr. Yelanimi to that committee, and it didn't get updated on the list that his new appointment term is 2027. So there's nothing that needs to be done for that one. He is currently good through that period of time. Commissioner Lee, you did point out that your designee to the Transportation Advisory Committee, Shelley Wynn, is still on that, so there's nothing that needs to be done there. She would be eligible to be reappointed for a 2-year term at this point in time. And then the same thing with your District 4 Transportation Advisory appointee, Commissioner Franzine. I believe Mr. Voss, his term actually should be 2027 versus 2025 there as well.
Okay.
You'll see the notations of a few of them who have already agreed that they will serve as another term if need be. There's no action that's needed on this from you tonight, but these are the ones that will be coming before you. Any of them that expire December 31st, you'll be asked if you are ready to make those appointments at your next county board meeting, or those that expire at the end of January, sometime between now and that time, if you have those appointments ready to be remade as well.
Very good. Thank you.
That's all I have for you, Mr. Chair, unless anyone has questions of me.
Questions? There are none. We'll move on to number 12 on our schedule. So Nancy, if you'll come up and lead us through the budget and levy process.
Mr. Chair, as Nancy is getting ready, next page too, just a couple of comments. As a reminder, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the county's 2026 budget and levy. It is not to discuss property valuations or classifications. If the questions that you have, or if you are here to discuss your property's market valuation, we do have staff from the county assessor's office who are here to assist you. Gary Griffin, our land services director, if anyone has questions on their individual property values, we'd invite you to go visit with Gary now, or if you want to wait and go through the presentation and then visit with his staff at that point, they will be available in the land services building behind us at that point as well. If the question that you are here for is the county's levy and budget, this is the meeting you need to be at. But we want to give you the opportunity to go meet with Gary and the staff if you have questions on your value or classification.
So Gary,
I'll take anybody now. We got staff waiting to help you. And we're taking money tonight too if you want to.
Be nice, Gary.
That's really frustrating.
Mr. Chair, and with that, I will turn it over to our Finance Director, Nancy Maleka, to give us a little update and overview of our 2026 budget and levy.
Thank you very much. So the next slide here is the 2026 proposed tax statement. So there's an example of the tax statement that taxpayers received. The information presented at tonight's meeting is related to the county portion only of the property tax statement. That is outlined in red on the tax statement up in the screen. Questions relating to other entities shown on the statement can be addressed at their meetings, and their meeting date and times are also noted on the tax statement as well, right below that red outline on that tax statement. Where do the tax dollars go? Although you pay property taxes at Crow Wing County, we do not keep all of those funds. So Crow Wing County acts as the go-between, and we distribute those funds as needed to various other entities. Per dollar of property tax that Crow Wing County receives for 2026, the county retains around 31 cents. So that means the remaining 69 cents is distributed to other either schools, cities, townships, or other special taxing districts. Some examples of those special districts include the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, Region 5, and hospital districts or sewer districts. How our property tax is calculated. This is a very, very simplified overview of some main points for each property that is dependent, that helps to determine your property taxes. So local budgets and tax calculations, market value and classifications of the property, any tax credits or programs that may reduce that tax that's due, and then any additional school or state property taxes that apply. So as I said, this is very simplified. The whole overview or the whole calculation is very complex, and our Land Services Department takes care of that. Another high-level chart starting at the top, and we'll move clockwise, of how that calculation occurs. What are the steps that are included in that process? So for taxes payable in 2026, in January of 2025, step 1 begins. So your market value is assigned to properties, and it's based on the comparable sales between October of 2023 and September of 2024. They also look at the property classifications assigned each property, so that would be something along the lines of either residential or commercial or seasonal or et cetera. And those two components help to calculate and determine the tax capacity. We then move on to step 2, and that's where cities, towns, schools, and counties calculate how much property tax revenue is needed for their budgets. That's also determined and approved in December. Step 3 is the property tax levy is spread among all taxable properties according to their tax capacity. That's also a step that's achieved in December as well. Step 4 is the property tax levy and tax capacity for all properties are used to calculate the tax rate, and the tax rate is a component of the process. And that also occurs in December. Then we move on to step 5. For each property, the county determines if any tax credits or additional taxes apply. That will occur in March of 2026. And finally, step 6, the county determines the tax due for each property based on, and then there's different steps down below. So it's based on determining the tax capacity, the base rate, which then in turn helps to determine the total property tax due. So property taxes, we like to refer to that as like slicing a pie. Government spending is the pie. The value of each property determines how big a slice of pie each property owner pays. 5 main reasons why a property owner may see higher taxes one year to the next. This could be due to government spending has increased, property market value decreased at a lower rate than other properties, property's market value increased at a higher rate than other properties, the property's classification has changed, the state has changed the rules, and if none of the above occurred, property taxes owed should not be more from one year to the next. So this slide, the property tax levy history, provides a 5-year look back at what Crow Wing County's property tax levy has been. The green bar is what we're proposing tonight for 2026, and that is $50,839,879, which makes up the 6.49% increase. I do want to point out that property tax levy does not determine market values and vice versa. Those are 2 separate components in the calculation of property taxes due. We sometimes hear that the county is raising their property tax levy, so that is why market values are increasing. That is not a true statement. Again, market values are based on comparable sales within a specified time frame, and that's how those are calculated. Whereas the property tax levy is the net result of a calculation that includes the county's other revenues, expenditures, and our fund balance utilization or growth. So market value in relation to new construction. This gives a 5-year look back of what our total taxable market value has been for the last 5 years, what it's projected to also be for 2026. So you will see that for 2026, the total taxable market value is expected to increase by just over 9%. And the total new construction for 2026 is estimated to be over $260 million, which is over a 7% increase from the prior year. And the percent of new construction in relation to the total taxable market value is just over 1%. This slide is showing you the property types and how they have changed from 2025 to 2026. So the top bar is the 2026 amounts and classifications. So you will see in blue is the agricultural property type that is increasing by over $118 million. Then we have residential that's increasing by over $730 million. And then we have seasonal increasing by over $863 million, and then commercial, which is also increasing at over $108 million.
Mr. Chair, Nancy, if you can stay on that one for just a moment. I think one of the things you see on this slide is a good visual representation of the different types of property mix that is in Crow Wing County. So when we talk about the fact that 37% of our property types are seasonal properties, 48% are residential, whether they be homestead or rental properties. The egg properties make up about 6.18% of our total tax base, and the commercial property makes up just about 8.5%. So you can see what the makeup of Crow Wing County is in this slide.
County levy impact comparison. So when we're comparing from 25 to 26 on this slide, we're taking into consideration that the market value, the classification, the state rules have remained the same between those 2 years. So in each of these different scenarios for commercial property, residential property, and seasonal property, if that were a true scenario, you can see the average market values to the far left in each of those boxes, and then you'll see the 25 tax in the middle column and the 2026 tax. In each of those scenarios, in each of those market values that are up on the screen, there is a decrease in property tax between 2025 to 2026. That would only be the county's portion of the property tax. So again, that's saying everything stayed the same from one year to the next. So the county's guiding mission in the work that we do is to serve well, deliver value, and drive results. So I wanted to provide some examples of how that comes into play during the budget process. So under serving well, it takes approximately 90 Crow Wing County staff members dedicating thousands of hours of work to accomplish this budget process. So it definitely takes a team to accomplish this. Under deliver value, a couple of examples are this year Crow Wing County implemented its first long-term budget plan. We implemented a 5-year budget plan for Crow Wing County. So we're very proud of that. This allows us to provide a proactive approach rather than being reactive during our budget process. It gives us that long-term vision and forecasting of what we can potentially see coming down the pike and how can we alleviate those peaks and valleys, whether it's on the revenue side or the expense side, and how can we try to mitigate that by maybe shifting some of those expenses from one year to the next if it's applicable to do so. Our Crow Wing County Advisory Committee expanded our 5-year capital improvement plan to a 7-year plan this year, so great work by them as well. Next year, we hope to expand that plan to a 10-year capital improvement plan, so that is a goal for next year for us as well. And under driving results, a couple of examples. So our budget process is a year-long process. And our first blush at the 2026 budget, our starting point was $53.1 million for the property tax levy. That was an 11.31% increase. Through 4 to 5 rounds of budget changes, we were able to reduce that number down by $2.3 million, which brought the preliminary levy to the $50.8 million we're presenting tonight. Also, our fund balance levels with our 5-year budget plan that we have in place, we're now able to also analyze our fund balance levels for the future 5 years, and those levels remain healthy through 2028. And this relates to unassigned fund balances. So unassigned fund balances are for cash flow purposes. So we need to analyze that to make sure, first off, that we're within the county policy thresholds in relation to our fund balances for all of our funds, and also that we have the cash flow to pay our bills on an ongoing basis. Budget timeline, as I stated, it's a long budget process and it's a year-long process. We've already started to talk about the 2027 budget. I think that was probably about a month or 2 ago. So there's no rest for sure when it comes to the budget process. So just wanted to provide some information as to how the process works and what months the process, the different tasks take place in. So from January to February, we're preparing the budget calendar. From March through June, that's the times when departments are preparing their budgets and they're entering that into the financial systems. July through September is where those budgets are presented to the budget committee. And then September is when the county board certifies the preliminary levy. And then we finalize those operating and capital improvement plan budgets from October through November. And then finally in December, we come before you for the budget and levy public hearing. You will see under July, there's some green lines there. So again, we started on July 10th. That was our starting point with our levy, with our first look at our budgets for 2026. We made revisions and came back to the committee or had discussions on July 25th and reduced it to just over $51 million. And then September 9th is when we came before the budget committee with a $50.8 million levy request. So we'll now look into a little bit more detail, and we'll get into a lot of numbers on the levy funds. And so this organizational chart shows you what funds those pertain to. So our levy funds is our general fund, our highway fund, our community services fund, and our capital projects fund. When we say levy funds, we mean each of these funds receive some portion of property tax levy revenue. So these are considered
Chair.
our levy funds. And then below each of those are the different divisions within those funds. So high-level overview of all of the levy funds. So again, the tax levy revenue is the $50.8 million. Other revenue that we're anticipating to receive is just over $64.9 million. Three of the larger budgetary areas I have listed below there. So we have federal grants coming in about $14.5 million. That relates mainly to our highway department and our community services department. State grants at $13.8 million, mainly within our community services department, and other taxes at $10.5 million, and that's our highway local option sales tax. On the expenditure side, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Nancy, I hate to cut in. I don't know if you're going to cover this on the end, but going back to the 6.5% levy and how much money we're asking for, are you going to highlight some of the drivers that are attributing to that? People might say, well, where are you spending the money? If you highlight some of that is the healthcare. Yeah. Some of the retiree health care. We're a union shop that we have negotiated contracts that just increase the budget every year, which if that's just the way it works. Are you going to highlight some of those at some point?
Yes, I will in a few more slides, Commissioner Coring, so
okay.
Thank you for that.
All right. Yeah, all right, thank you.
On the expenditure side, expenditures are budgeted for $119.7 million. The larger areas of our expenditures are personnel services at $62.6 million. That includes our wages, insurance, pension, FICA, and the new paid family medical leave mandate. Services and charges come in at $34.2 million. That's contractor fees, software services, and building repair and maintenance. And then public aid assistance at $13.3 million, which is community services related programs. These funds are anticipated to utilize fund balance usage of just over $3.9 million. And again, it's each of those levy funds are anticipated to utilize fund balance for 2026. Breaking down the property tax levy by fund, so you'll see the general fund, we're comparing 25 to 26 and the percentage of increase or decrease. So the general fund is seeing over an 8% increase in that revenue base. Highway a 0% increase, community services 2.5%, and capital projects at 0.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I think one thing to point out here is you'll note the general fund has the higher amount. When we talk about our levy overall, Nancy's been talking about we're looking at a 6.49% levy increase. To accomplish that, that means that we have to look at the organization as a whole. When we look at this chart, it shows that there's a vast difference about how much of the property tax levy goes to pay for those different types of services. And in the general fund, there are far fewer grant opportunities or other revenue opportunities to help offset what the need is for the property tax levy. So while it looks like the highway department has very little amount of levy, there are other revenue sources that are associated there. You'll see Community Services Fund is only anticipating a 2.5% levy increase for 26. There are other revenue sources available there, whereas in the general fund, the majority of the funding in the general fund comes from the property tax levy.
So the 2026 levy budgets, we've broken it down just a little bit further based on the funds, and then underneath the general fund, we have the different service centers. So we have the governance services, which makes up our administration, commissioners, county attorney, veteran services. Then we have our administrative services, which is facilities, finance, elections, and IT, just to name a few. Public safety services is our sheriff's office budget, and then land services is some of our services within our land services department. And then we again have the highway, the community services fund, and the capital projects. So the second column is the tax revenue breakdown, tax levy revenue breakdown for each of those areas. And in the blue there, you'll see the percentage of change from 2025. in each of those areas as well. Other revenue is the third column, so you'll see what makes up that other revenue, and then the change from 2025 as well. So other revenue decreases that you're seeing in that third column in the blue are mainly reflective of the decrease in forfeited property revenue that the county is receiving based on changes at the state level, grants that the county is receiving as well as out-of-county holds, which is the boarding of prisoners at our jail. On the expenditure side, which is on that fourth column, you'll see those amounts there as well for each of those areas. And the expenditure increases that you're seeing are mainly due to personnel services, wages and benefits, and highway contractor fees for upcoming projects. So our highway department has a highway improvement plan. It's a 5-year plan. And so they have projects assigned to each of those years. And so that's reflective of that. To Commissioner Coring's point, I do want to note that on the personnel services side of things, we are seeing included in this budget a 23% increase in our health insurance. That is what the county will be receiving next year for our employees. That also impacts our retiree health insurance increases. And then again, that paid family medical leave mandate that we are required to implement. So overall, the budgetary element implications of all of those areas, along with salaries and wages, comes in at about a $2.4 million increase, which overall is over a 5% increase with just looking at personnel services alone. We had some other increases too on the property and casualty insurance side. We're seeing premium increases of 12% there. Workers' compensation is increasing by about 7%. And then we're still seeing increases in our software licensing. That's over $200,000 there that we're seeing software licensing increase year after year for the county. Some other areas, we saw a slight decrease in our county program aid revenue. And then community services overall saw revenue decreases just over $580,000. So that is why, that's included as a part of that property tax increase to offset some of these increases that we're seeing in these other areas or revenue decreases. I do also want to point out that of the $119.7 million, we estimate that approximately 70% of those expenditures are for mandated services. 15% of that amount is for non-mandated services that support mandated services. So that would be our IT department, our facilities department, those types of things, our cleaning services. And then the remaining 15% are considered non-mandated services. So if you take the $119.7 million and you multiply that by 85%, that equates to just over $101 million of our expenditures are related to mandated services. The remaining $17.9 million would fall into that non-mandated services category. And then finally, we just wanted to also note that these budgets do not include any federal legislative changes, that we're still awaiting to see what the implications are at the state level, and then the potential trickle-down effect at the county level. So that would be in reference to some of our community services programs relating to SNAP and Medicaid. So now we've taken all the revenues and just are giving you a different chart. So we're giving you a pie chart so you can see the different breakdown based on the different pieces of the pie. So property tax levy is the largest piece at 43%, followed by intergovernmental revenues at just over 38%. And when we talk intergovernmental revenues, that's state aid for our highway department that they receive for their maintenance and construction programs, county program aid that we receive, police aid, and that would also include any local, state, and federal grants. Other taxes comes in next at just over 9%, so that would include our local option sales tax at our highway department. Charges for services is next at just over 4%, and that again would be our out-of-county holds revenue for our jail, our maintenance service fees for our fleet department, our community services programs are included in there as well as recorder fees and contracted revenue. Investments at just over 1%, that's our interest earnings that we receive off of the investments that the county has. Miscellaneous at 1.7%, that's our interfund transfers between funds and any rent revenue that we receive. And then finally, licenses and permits is less than 1%. That would be licenses such as liquor licenses and zoning permits and septic permits, things like that. On the expenditure side, we broke this down as well. So you'll see personnel services makes up the biggest piece of the pie at just over 52%. Again, that's wages, insurance, pension, FICA, and the new paid family medical leave mandate. Services and charges comes in next at 28%. That's contractor fees, software service, building repairs and maintenance costs, electricity and water, and our property and casualty insurance. Public aid assistance is next at over 11%. So some of those programs that we talk about with community services, some examples are insurance premiums, foster home placements, correction placements, and mental health initiatives. Supplies and materials is next at just over 4%. So that would include computer equipment and software replacements and renewals, maintenance supplies, office supplies, winter salt, vehicle parts, and fuel. Capital outlay comes in next at just over 2%, so that's in relation to our capital improvement plan. So that's building improvement projects, vehicle replacements, and new computer equipments and software. And then finally, other expenditures is less than 1%, and that's entirely because of the appropriations that the county provides to other organizations. So that makes up the other expenditures category. Capital projects. So again, the county has a 7-year capital improvement plan from 2026 to 2032. So our capital projects fund includes expenditures for public improvements, building projects, and any assets that we acquire. This allows the county to maintain and improve capital assets without adding these costs to the overall operating budgets, and that would be the case when you see the table and it relates to facilities, IT, and fleet. Those items are moved into our capital projects fund to alleviate those costs on operating. Revenue sources that fund our capital projects fund, we utilize $1 million of property tax levy is in this fund. But the majority of the funding comes from county program aid, and that's approximately $2.8 million that helps to fund the capital projects fund. For 2026, our capital improvement plan equates to about $8.7 million, which is approximately 90 projects. So there's 90 projects for 2026 in our CIP. And these relate to a grader for $510,000, to replacing bituminous in a parking lot at around $250,000, versus software enhancements at $250,000 as well. You will see the orange, again, is the 2026 budget information. You'll see large increases for our solid waste area and our landfill areas. And I do want to note that the solid waste area is in relation to the recycling center projects that they have earmarked for 2026. And the landfill increases are due to the cells, slope closures, raincoats, and pond projects that they have going on. And I know Gary and Jessica touched on that a little bit in their presentation earlier this evening. So now we will move on to the non-levy funds. So these are funds that do not receive any property tax levy revenue. And those funds are the ditch fund, the solid waste fund, the public land management fund, and then the landfill fund. We'll provide further breakdowns to here as well on revenue and expenditures. So for the revenues, we are seeing decreases in revenues for the ditch fund, and that relates to special assessments. There was an analysis done, and the special assessments assigned to that fund were decreased moving into 2026. Prior to 2026, they were at just over $14,200 was what the special assessment revenue amount was. Next, we have the expenditures broken down by the different funds as well. And the larger increases, or the increases that you're seeing there, are due to, again, that recycling center project in the solid waste fund, and then our landfill cell projects in our landfill fund. And then two of the four funds are utilizing fund balance, whereas the public land management fund is actually seeing a fund balance increase. So breaking this out by the pieces of the pie, charges for services makes up the majority of that revenue at 46%. That is the landfill charges that the county charges to the customers, followed by special assessments at just over 15%, and that's the solid waste fee assessment, which is $25 per household, and also the Ditch 13 special assessment as well. Miscellaneous at over 15%, that's our forfeited property tax sales revenue. Licenses and permits at just over 10%, that's our timber permits. And then intergovernmental is in relation to funding that is received through the MPCA and environmental assistance funding programs. And then we have investments, last but not least, at just over 4% there for our interest earnings. On the expenditure side, supplies and materials makes up the biggest piece of the pie at just over 36%. So again, some of that relates to our landfill cells projects and the supplies and materials needed there, as well as general operating supplies. Services and charges is just under 25%, and that relates to consulting fees and contractor fees. Capital outlay is next at just over 16%. And again, some of those landfill cells and recycling center projects, some of those costs are in that category. Personnel services is next at just over 15%. So that would be the same as it is in the levy funds, the salaries, the insurances, the pensions, the FICA, the work comp, that portion of those salaries that are allocated to those specific funds. And then other expenditures is last on this pie chart, that's just over 6%, and that's any tax forfeited settlements and interfund transfers. How do we compare? So we have two slides here that compares our county versus other either neighboring counties or other counties that are a part of the Minnesota Inter-County Association that Crow Wing County also is a part of. So this slide shows the 2026 levy increases by county, and we're comparing, it goes from the far left to Mille Lacs County all the way to the far right with Winona County. You will see that Crow Wing County is the bar that's in the green at the 6.49%. So you can see where we fall in relation to all those other counties. And then the bar in red is what the statewide average is, and that's at 7.85%. So Crow Wing County, based on information through the Minnesota Inter-County Association, is 31st lowest out of 87 counties when it comes to levy increases proposed for 2026. And then looking at the per capita by county, again utilizing the same counties, Crow Wing being the county in the green, our per capita is at $741. The statewide average is just over $1,000, and Crow Wing County is the 20th lowest out of 87 counties. We will now move on to the unorganized territory budgets. The first and second assessment districts are unorganized territories, which the county board is the elected governing body because they do not or have a local city or township government. So first assessment district and second assessment district. The second column is the tax levy revenues that we're proposing for those two districts for 2026. So we're proposing just over $1.4 million for the first assessment district, which is a 5.85% increase, and then just under $100,000 in the second assessment district, which is a 9.49% increase. Other revenues, that relates to the state gas tax, and so that's increasing from the prior year at 3.5%. And then on the expenditure side, there's the breakdown between the two districts, and those increases are mainly due to contractor fees for construction and maintenance-related projects. The first assessment district will be utilizing some fund balance, whereas the second assessment district will be growing their fund balance by $42,000. And then this bar graph just gives you, excuse me, a breakdown comparing 25 to 26 and those percentage increases that we just looked at the prior slide. And then we want to end on, just to make people aware that there are some property tax refunds available out there that people may want to look into if they are eligible for those refunds. So the first one here is the homestead credit refund. Listed with the bullet points are the different criteria to be eligible for those refunds, and those are all funneled through the Minnesota Department of Revenue. The county has no part in those, so if anybody has any questions or wants further information, they would want to reach out to the Minnesota Department of Revenue on that. And then there's another revenue or another refund called the special property tax refund, and the criteria is listed there on the screen as well. Again, the Minnesota Department of Revenue is in charge of those refunds, so reach out to them with any questions. And that is all that I have.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say publicly, thank you to Nancy. Thank you to all the staff that have helped put this together. I tell you what, I think Crow Wing County residents have a lot to be proud of. If you notice one thing on this budget or a couple budgets back, we have no debt. Out of 87 counties, this county has no debt. And so you don't see a little sliver on there where we're paying interest to somebody. It's a pay, the county board has decided to pay as we go. And when I first got on the board, I can't remember, Deb, maybe you can help me. I think it was about $40 million in debt. Mm-hmm. And we paid that off quicker, and we saved a lot of money on paying interest. We had bonds, we had debt out at the airport, we had debt up in Crosby at our joint facility up there, but now we have absolutely no debt, which I think is something to really be proud of. And I just want to thank the staff and actually thank the board. I think I hate to blow our own horn, but this is really good. When you compare it to a lot of the other counties, they're a mess. And the state of Minnesota, I think the last number I saw was like $9 billion in debt. Federal government, God only knows how much it is now. But anyway, just thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any questions for Nancy?
One of the things, Nancy, if you go back to slide 11, and this is something that I'm just going to bring out just to make sure I understand it. If the market value stayed, if residential property, if the market value stayed the same, if it was 246, you're saying the taxes would actually have gone down?
Correct.
And
if your market value stayed the same, if your property classification didn't change, if the state didn't change any rules used to calculate the property taxes, yes, that is what I'm saying.
And part of that's because we have a growing county too. And you look at that with the new builds, the new
Yes.
property, that adds stuff that comes on board that never was there before.
Yep, so
And
that
we're
new
able to take
construction does help because it gives us even more properties to spread those dollars over.
One of the things, when I first came here, I came from, city government, from, managing a budget for a small city of Jenkins. And what was really unusual coming here is looking at where that money comes in from. In a city, it's pretty much most of our money all comes in ad valorem. We have very few other areas where money comes in. In here, half of it comes from taxes, and half of our budget comes from all kinds of other stuff, which is a lot different than a city. And so one of the things that I also, when you look at the commercial, residential, and seasonal property, the amount of effect that can have in a small city like I was familiar with up in Jenkins, if our commercial property went down, as far as valuation. We still needed to fill that bucket, what we said we needed to operate our city by, so the other ones went up. And it really was an eye-opener for me, because we had planned on it really well. We had a really good group of people working on our budget, and all of a sudden we get to this tax statement, we look at it, and it's go, how did mine go up? We had it all planned where it wouldn't. Well, we can't control everything that happens.
No.
And so it's a moving target, and I think it's just, and as most of you know, I like numbers. So I'll leave it at that, and I won't say any more. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Mr.
welcome,
Chair, to
Paul.
Commissioner Lubke's point on that slide that Nancy was showing with the, if nothing changed, if the value doesn't change, taxes would go, the county tax would go down. And part of that is the value increase, and it takes the revenue or the levy that you need, that tax amount, to create that tax rate. And Commissioner Lubke, you and I have talked from trying to break you of your previous viewpoints from the city perspective of
Good
tax
luck.
rate.
Good luck.
And even though the county's tax levy, the dollar amount is going up 6.5%, the tax rate is going down 3.17%. So that is why the individual tax dollar amount for some folks might see a decrease, or why automatically, even though the levy is going up 6.49%, folks are not going to necessarily see a 6.49% tax increase, because there are various different factors that go into play there.
And I will throw one more in there then for you, County Administrator. The taxable net tax capacity.
Yep.
When you compare our county to the other 87, we are sitting there at 84th. We're one of the lowest ones, and a lot of it has to do with our seasonal property valuations and such as that. That comes from that same information that you were using. So there's only three counties in the state of Minnesota that actually have a lesser than we. I mean, we are that low. So that's all information for me when we're sitting up here making these decisions and say, where do we sit with the other counties? Because our questions come to us from our taxpayers. And by having that information, I can say, yes, your taxes are going up. Here's how we sit with other counties in Minnesota, and it gives me a pretty good idea, and we're sitting healthy. We've got a good county, and it's run well, so thank you all for doing that.
If there are no other questions for Nancy, I would look for a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Lee,
Second.
second by Commissioner Franzine. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye. The public meeting is now open at 7:01. Mr. Liegeld, if you would like to come up. Thank you for filling out the form.
I truthfully wasn't sure what to do with it. I've been through this a few times. I'm Dan Liegeld, former owner of Driftwood Resort. My wife and I purchased some of the land on the north end, which was the old golf course. And if some of you folks remember, I reverted some of that, converted 3 lots into one to make it commercial, so we could use it for our dredging business and et cetera. We opened it up to the commercial dredging world out there. No one's used it. I'm the only one. We did one dredging job out of there in 2019, and that's it. So now we're at the point where it's frustrating to see this, and I went through this with Gary years ago in Ideal Corners, and they did nothing. Nobody did anything about this. Our taxes from 2021, when we commercialized it, we were told exactly what Commissioner Lubke told us, that commercialization in some aspects would go down. Our taxes did. They dropped in half when we commercialized it. And everyone was pleased. We were able to keep our budgeting close. The very next year, it went up 114+%. The question was asked, why? No business out of there, nothing was happening. The next year, it went up 15.95%. They slowed it down a little bit. Still a little bit out of reach of what the aspect of reality is. And at the end here, in 2024-25, each year it went up 19.59%, 22.89%, and now this year it's attempting to go up 61.37%, which takes it from $1,079 a month up to $1,741 a month for taxes. So at $20,894 for this piece of land for taxes, it's out of control. I'm sure that, I don't know how many other folks in here are talking about their real estate taxes. Apparently I'm the only one that filled out a green sheet of paper. Okay. I have a problem with too big a government, too much taxes, and et cetera. The mill levy's high. These are all things that are small equations for you folks, but as the individual that has had a piece of land in their family since 1959, and you're about to get taxed out of it because of sometimes politics, sometimes your multi-million-dollar neighbors that we have no control over. We can't control their checkbooks, but we can control what we have, and what we were attempting to gift to our kids is about not to happen, because we're going to get taxed right out of this piece of land. Now, the evaluation thing, as Gary told me, if you change it won't matter what CUP I have under there, the conditional use permits, that has nothing to do with it.
Right.
The value of the land is the value of the land, and that's what they're shoving in front of us, that it's worth $1.5 million. Well, it's not for sale. We want to give it to our kids so they can give it to their kids, keep it in the family. But if the taxes keep going up, the state of Minnesota is killing our killing families right out of their taxes, out of their homes. And it's not uncommon to hear this. Our piece of land is a nice little park up there. We like to keep it mowed. My wife likes to mow it, part of therapy. You know, it's when you get out in the country like that, you don't have any neighbors. Besides, we do have one neighbor that's disgruntled or whatever, but he likes it because he couldn't come over to our property and run his dog and stuff, which we don't like. It's a little bit different. When we own it, it's ours. We can do what we want. What he does, we don't care. We don't get into it that he has a VRBO in his house and he's on a residential rate.
Yep.
Those are things that I can't control. That's his problem, not mine. My problem is to pay a $20,894 tax next year. That's what they're proposing. So my only answer is to come back to you folks and ask for something to get done. You know, I don't know what you can do to get it back down to a common sense thing. It's really tough. So I'm sure you ate up your 3 minutes of time. Oh, wait, you gave somebody else an extra minute. I'm just kidding. Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lepke.
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye. The public hearing is closed at 7:07. And that concludes number 12.1. Get 12.2, which is the approval of the 2025, should be 2026, final budget and levy resolution.
What do you have, 20?
Looking for a motion, folks.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Coring,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lubke. Roll call.
Commissioner Lepke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Barros.
Aye, and that motion passes. Additional business. I have
Nothing
a
before you
number of
today.
things that I would like to bring up during additional business.
Thank you.
And the first one is to thank again the Highway Department and the snowplow drivers who were out there many hours doing their job and trying to scrape it back down to bare blacktop. We appreciate it very much. We know that was a tough job. The Sheriff's Department for what you did in crowd control out there and the angry ones that called and told the Highway Department they should plow the end of their driveway. Thank you for handling all those complaints. The second one is what Commissioner Coring mentioned earlier, a thank you to you, Nancy, and your team, and the business managers out there in each of our departments putting this budget together. To your point, it's a year-long process. It's a very difficult process. The SMT members coming in and arguing with one another, but coming to agreement in the end. We appreciate all their efforts. And we know there's some questions yet, and I think of this particular budget period where we didn't know what the state and the feds were going to do, and we are the recipients of action or no action by them. Generally, they push things to our plate, but when you're trying to do a budget and you don't know and you have to do a preliminary budget, they squeezed our timelines, so thank you for all the effort by all of your folks to deal with that. My last thing is community services. Kara Terry, if you'll come up and give us a brief update on Carefree. This is a nursing home in town that had some serious issues, and I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm rather unprepared for this spiel tonight, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
So our staff has been out at Carefree for the last several days. There have been some staffing issues at Carefree, and they have been unable to fulfill all of their statutorily required obligations. So community services staff have stepped up and stepped into the roles of helping to find placements, alternative placements for the 41 residents who are there. We're working with family members and the case managers for some of the residents. Some do not have case managers or family members, and so we're trying to help those individuals. We've taken on that role of finding places for the residents to go. That is supposed to be Carefree's responsibility. If we were not doing it, then who? So we're taking care of the residents of Crow Wing County, basically. We have found placements, I think, for around maybe 12, last I heard. I was out there this morning until, God, I don't even know, my day ran together about noon maybe. And so we are packing for individuals or with individuals, trying to help them get their belongings together. We are looking at potentially helping the individuals to move. Dwayne, the maintenance gentleman there, has been doing a lot and is also trying to do the moves as well. We've provided Carefree Living with moving companies and are hoping that they reach out to the moving companies to move all of the heavy items that I am not strong enough to move, despite how strong I think I am. Let's see, what else are we doing? So I have notified Carefree Living. I think this is a bit out of the ordinary. Got clearance from Debbie to do it. I have notified the administrator at Carefree Living that the county will be keeping track of our dollars that we are putting into this, not specifically paying them, but our staff time. All of the work that we are doing that they are supposed to be doing, we will bill them for to get reimbursed for all of our efforts. I do not know at this point how much that's going to be, but I've put them on notice that if we continue to do their work, we'll ask for payment, because it's not up to the taxpayers to be paying our wages to do the work this private business is supposed to be doing. So we've done that. And we will be back out there again tomorrow. We have 3 residents moving on Thursday. That's what I knew to be the case at noon today. So we'll be helping to pack up those individuals and help them move out on Thursday. Friday, I'm not aware of any individuals. One may move on Sunday, so we're going to rally the troops to get that done. We're just doing the best we can to try and support the residents there.
So if I might just shed a little light on this situation, which came to our plate, I think last Tuesday, when some of us were sitting at AMC, and all of a sudden you got 41, 42 residents who aren't being cared for.
Yes.
So you think of their medications, their food, their personal hygiene stuff. None of that's being cared for at a level that it should have been. The owners of that company are sitting, we know one was in Canada, and I have to believe, because it was reported to Minnesota Department of Health, that this was a serious situation.
Yes.
And of course, we had a nice, robust conversation with MDH, mostly me and them. And I won't say anything more about that, but the real responsibility is with whoever gives that license out, which is MDH. And then Carefree, the owners of that, or managers, are responsible for what we are now taking on. We're a good partner with MDH in this type of situation, but it puts a lot of pressure on our staff to go out there and do their job, which we are not prepared to be 24/7 caretakers. And so I thank you and the staff for what you've done. I commend you. I think billing them is just, that's the minimum that should be done by that group to reimburse us as a county. Because there's portions of it, you know, how tired the staff are. They have regular jobs to do that they can't get to as efficiently as they would normally do. It's just a whole lot of pressure, and unfortunately, the state agency felt like that was our responsibility to do that. I think Administrator Erickson was very clear that it was their responsibility. I think I was more than clear with them that it was their responsibility. And when things like this happen, so you think of a flood, it's all hands on deck. If all you're worried about is your calendar of what you have to do, I'm sorry, I don't have any respect for that, and it's time for them to come out and deal with it. And that was sort of the discussion that I had with a couple of people at MDH. So, but again, thank you very much to your staff. I think that whatever you need, and I've offered my own personal services, but whatever you need, just let us know, because I know that this is a strain on your staff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll just mention our partners with Clayton and Liz and over at the Sheriff's Office have been on board. John Davis at the Brainerd PD
Police, yep.
has been having his officers stop by during the night shift to ensure that the staffing levels are there. Somebody is there watching the residents. So we've had some really, and I know I'm missing people, we've had some really great partners in all of this as well. So we're a pretty fortunate community to all come together to protect these residents. So I'm
And
really
Commissioner
proud.
Barrows, I think you'd be happy to hear MDH has had staff on site.
They have one nurse on site, or an investigator, a couple hours each day now, which is more than we were getting before. So maybe your influence did impact that.
Well, I felt pretty good after I vented on them there. So
Thank you.
normally the board doesn't get to see that, and I'm glad you didn't. It's unfortunate that our staff had to hear me let loose. I usually am in pretty good control, but this was one time when they were wrong, and I didn't care what the consequences were, so that's on me. Although I said it was you guys, so just.
Thanks for dragging us in on it. No, thank you so much again. I mean, take care of your staff. I mean, for them to be over there doing that when they have other duties that they are assigned to do here at the county, take care of your staff, please.
So if there is nothing else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Franzine.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lupke. Final roll call.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lepke,
Say
Aye.
present.
I'm sorry, my ears are talking to me.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner